Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Science Unplugged. So we're here with the Alan Alda Center for Communicating Science at Stony Brook University, and we're a show where we like to sit down with a scientist and just have a casual conversation, learn some science in an easy, low-key way. So I'm Stephen, I'll be one of your hosts.
And I'm Wendy.
And so we've got a really great guest today. Her name is Ruchi Shah. Hello, Ruchi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So we'll probably start with, so she does many things. We'll just talk about one aspect of her life. So what do you do and why is it important?
So in terms of the mosquito research, I was inspired to do that when I had gone on a trip to India with my family, and that was back when I was 15. And I remember seeing this really long line of people outside of a tiny clinic, and they were waiting to get treatment for mosquito-transmitted diseases. And so at that time, I came back home and I was inspired and I wanted to do something to help those people. And so over a few years, I invented the first all-natural mosquito repellent that works by neutralizing what attracts mosquitoes to us. And now I own my own company based on this repellent. And I'm excited to hopefully be bringing free repellents back to India and other developing countries.
So in case you missed that, right, you just heard she owns her own company and is an inventor. And this is kind of awesome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit more about how this works. You said it's an all-natural repellent?
Yeah, so it's really important for me to make something that was safe because a lot of the repellents that are currently on the market have known carcinogens, things like DEET, and they're bad for your body. Parents don't want to put these chemical repellents on their kids. And so I wanted to make something that was all natural, that was inexpensive and affordable for people here and abroad. And so that was really the motivation behind creating something that was sustainable.
So what did you use?
So I can't tell you the exact recipe because we're still going through the patent process, but they're all ingredients that you can buy at the supermarket. Things like fruit juices, plant extracts, oils. So it's really using and harnessing the power of these different fruits and plants and trees to repel mosquitoes.
How did you actually do the whole, finding out what repels a mosquito? Because all of us, I think we want to know how to repel mosquitoes.
I mean, I hate mosquitoes.
Yeah.
They're so annoying.
Definitely. So there are a few steps to that. First, I created artificial perspiration, and yes, there's a recipe for that in a journal.
Really?
Yeah, it's there's 100 different ingredients that goes into it to kind of mimic as closely as possible human sweat. So the first thing I did was create this artificial perspiration and then vary concentrations of the compounds that I was interested in looking at.
Your lab must have smelled great.
Yeah, yes. Well, my lab was like my kitchen.
Wait, you were doing
and our garage, so yeah. Yeah, and we had a little classroom in high school, so I would use that and then bring my experiments home. So it was quite the interesting experience. And then from there, once I found out that people who have higher amounts of certain nitrogen-based compounds, then what I did was I collected sweat samples from athletes at my high school. And so
after games, you just collected their sweat.
So what happened was
a little syringe that you're grabbing sweat off basketball players. What did you do?
Kind of. So they had these gauze pads that were taped to their forehead, and then they would do their workout, and then I'd collect the gauze pads and put them in their own containers. And and then I would freeze them. So my mom wasn't too happy about that because we had a freezer. Half our freezer was full of sweat samples.
You didn't get a separate freezer for this?
Eventually we did, but at the beginning, it's I didn't know where to
put. You wouldn't want to mix that up with your breakfast burrito. Oh wait, no, that's the sweet.
Yeah, we had separate shelves in the freezer. But it was all the name of science, right? And my parents are super supportive. So eventually we transitioned to a separate freezer in the garage. But and then from there, what I did was I was experimenting with different ratios of fruit juices and plant extracts, and there's a few things that I was looking for. Of course, the repellent had to be effective, but then it also had to smell good. It couldn't have a sticky consistency. It had to have a long shelf life. It had to last long as well on the body. And so what we started out with was putting in these sweat samples into this test chamber that I built, and then trying to see, out of us 4 or us 3, which of us is most attractive to mosquitoes? And let's say that's me. Then my sample would get spritzed with one spritz of my repellent. And then we put all of our samples back into the tank and then observe if the mosquito's behavior changed at all.
Did you buy mosquitoes or did you go collect them also?
So I bought mosquitoes.
Wait, you buy mosquitoes?
Yeah.
You buy these on the internet? Where do you buy mosquitoes?
So they're actually scientific companies, I guess, for people who do research, and they come as eggs and larvae, and you basically have them in like a little bowl, and you give them a little mosquito diet, and eventually they grow up to be adult mosquitoes.
Okay.
And then I had a little mosquito catcher that I would use to transfer them from their home tank to the experimental tank to do the experiments.
How long do mosquitoes live?
So it varies, and it also depends on the male versus female. And because I wasn't giving like direct blood products to the females, it was all just the diet that came from the company. But on average, they tended to live like 60 days or so.
Oh, okay.
So it was
enough
plenty
time.
of time for me to do a lot of repeats of my experiments.
So what actually makes a mosquito like one person over another? I think you really want to know that.
Yeah, definitely. So there are a few things that play a role in that. The first thing that attracts mosquitoes is carbon dioxide. So that's kind of how they sense that there's something living that probably has blood that they can feed on. And then from there, my research was more focused on, well, we are all expelling carbon dioxide, so why would they pick me over you?
Right.
And so we have certain compounds in our sweat, particularly nitrogen-based compounds, and people who have higher amounts of these are more attractive to mosquitoes. Then you might ask, well, like, why would someone have higher amounts?
Diet-based?
Partially, and then also, like, we could eat the same diet, but our kidneys and excretory system can work in different ways. So there's a lot that goes into it, like it's the diet part, but also then your own personal physiology that plays a role in your unique sweat composition.
So when people complain about, getting bitten more than other people, that's real. It's not just in people's mind. It's actually...
Absolutely, yeah.
I've always wondered that. Like,
Yeah.
you hear people like, claim they're mosquito magnets, and I was always suspicious that, like, no, that's real?
Yeah, definitely.
And the other thing is, could you have to cater it to like different regions of mosquitoes? Because I noticed that sometimes I get bitten more in one place, while another place I don't get bitten at all, and someone else gets the bitten all up.
You mean like regions geographically, or?
Geographically, if there's a way to tune that, or...
Yeah, so you're right. There are different mosquito species in different parts of the world, and different mosquito species are vectors for different diseases. So when we did the experiments, we used different species of mosquitoes to make sure that the repellent was effective for all of these vectors.
That's an extra layer of... I hadn't thought of that. But Yeah, you wouldn't want to have repellent that only works in one part of the country or something.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Thanks.
So from this, I guess we could say, what do you really like about what you do?
I love I guess like my favorite part about science is that you can identify a challenge or a problem in the world around you, and then use your unique like curiosity and innovative thought to come up with a solution for it, and then really investigate the problem, come up with an answer, and then potentially implement it to really give back and benefit the population that initially inspired your work. So I think that's really cool. Like, you can see something and then come up with something to fix it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So has this been tested against all mosquitoes? Because I know, like, recently the big thing with mosquitoes is Zika, right? So do you think that the Zika-carrying mosquitoes would be repelled by yours just as well as any other? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been continuing to do testing so there was a chikungunya that came out a few years ago.
The one we can't pronounce.
What?
Yeah.
Can you spell it?
Wait, what is chicken what?
Yeah, so it's spelled like CHIKUNGUNYA.
And this is a disease?
Yeah. And it was down in the Caribbean, I think it was 2013, 2014, that was really, there was a rise in incidence of that disease. And so that was something that we were looking at to make sure that our repellent would be effective against those mosquitoes, and then now more recently with Zika virus. So I've been fortunate to have a team of interns that work with me so that we can keep up with, as the climate of mosquito transmitted diseases is changing, we're making sure that our product is still effective.
So then I guess potentially you'd have to like always be working on changing the recipe and tweaking it, or is it the kind of thing where once you establish it, it's good forever, or would you still get to do the science along the way of each time there's a new disease you get to test it more?
So far what we've seen is that we've mostly just been testing the repellent to make sure that it is also effective against these vectors, but potentially in the future, if there was a case where the repellent wasn't working, then we would have to go back and kind of tweak it a little bit for a new vector. But for now, it seems to be holding up against all these different mosquitoes.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And you said you have a bunch of interns, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I think I've seen some of your talks and things before, and it seems like you're really involved with getting other people involved with you, right? So you want to talk a little bit about your company or how you built that?
Definitely. So I had always seen myself as a scientist, so I never imagined running my own company. And it kind of happened on a whim where I saw an email about a business plan competition and just applied. And I wasn't even going to go to the award ceremony. And we ended up winning first place.
Wow.
And it was $20,000 to start your own company.
Awesome.
So I was like, there was a part of me that was like, I don't even know what to do with this. But I thought about it, and what was really important to me, not only in the science and bringing this repellent back to developing countries, but also empowering other students with the skills at the intersection of science, business, and really communication marketing. So I started an internship program at Stony Brook that is a collaboration between the business department, the biology department, and the women in science and engineering department. And so every semester the internship is offered, and we have about 9 to 10 interns.
That's really awesome.
And you did this while you're in school yourself.
Yeah, this all started when I was an undergrad.
Do you sleep?
Yeah, I like need a minimum of 7 hours to function, so that's like always been a priority. But I think it's really just, I'm very much a list maker, so I have lists for lists, and they're everywhere, and just, prioritizing things that are really important to me.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take a short break from
Yeah.
the science to whip out the pop culture quiz.
Yeah, so have you
Sure.
seen our show? Do you know how we always want to sort of take a little jovial side trip here, and you're clearly an accomplished scientist, inventor, businesswoman. But what do you know about non-science?
This will be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so it's just 5 questions, and Stephen can help
And
you
I've
out.
not seen them,
Okay.
Yes.
so I don't know how much help I'm actually going to be.
All right, so the first question. The Dallas Cowboys plan to release their quarterback on Thursday. What is his name?
Oh, is it Tony Ramos?
Tony Romo. Yes, you
Romo,
you
something like
basically got it. Yes. I'll give you that one.
I read the Skim. It's like this news website that gives you like,
Okay, so is there anything you don't do?
that's like my morning routine, because I'm like, all right, this way I get all the news updates in one spot.
Okay, next one. What new TV game console is a marriage between Nintendo's new Wii and Game Boy?
I have no idea.
The new system.
I'm sure it sounds really techy and interesting.
Oh, it's not. It doesn't sound too interesting, but I'll just throw it out if you guys don't. So it's Nintendo Switch.
Oh.
It's a boring name.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed.
Yep, nothing cool. So next one. What is the name of the ecological thriller showing the disastrous effects of technology that allows humanity to control the weather that goes horribly wrong?
Is this like a recent movie?
It's new. I don't know if the trailer even came out yet.
It
But
sounds awesome. but
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely watch
I would
that.
watch it.
you can take a stab at it.
Something that has to do with weather.
So it's actually Geostorm.
Oh, that's a perfect.
Yes.
When's it come out? That's on my
I don't
list.
know, but basically they control the weather, so it's like real
Wow.
man-made climate change,
Cool.
like in the most dangerous sense because they actually did it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow.
And next one, okay, you probably know this one. I recycled
I'll let
it.
you know.
So the Guardians of the Galaxy will meet the Avengers in which movie?
We found it. Movies. That's one thing Ruchi doesn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I went to see one of the Avengers movies and I like fell asleep.
There's
so-
too many though.
Yeah, I really have
They
no
don't really
idea.
have stories. But do you know
I
it?
don't know.
It's Avengers Infinity War. Okay. Now the last one. Okay, Ashton Kutcher blew a kiss at which senator who has been his partner in fighting human trafficking?
Oh.
So it's probably somebody with personality.
Mm.
Just any senator you could think of. That's
I have no idea. Like, I mean,
Is it the New York Senator, Kristen
No.
Gillibrand? No, I don't know.
John McCain.
oh my gosh, that's actually
Oh,
that would have been like,
really?
right.
Tip of the
But I was like,
tongue.
nah, he wouldn't have been.
Yep. So
Interesting.
so you survived. You proved that you also know like outside since you book it in the morning. So
Yeah. Okay.
All
Awesome.
right.
So we like to end the show sort of by asking the guests what their opinion of science communication is and what your thoughts on that and how you approach science communication. So do you have any thoughts about that?
Definitely. So I'm in medical school right now, and just for the day-to-day with patient interaction, communication is huge. It can make the difference between someone taking their medication and not. But then in the broader sense of communication, it's so important for us scientists to be able to communicate the importance of our work to the next generation, to politicians, to our community members, for them to understand why it's important to fund us, why it's important to support us, especially in the political climate that we're in right now. So it's really exciting to be a part of this community of science communicators and hopefully inspire other scientists to go on this journey as well.
Yeah, very well said.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are great.
Thanks.
And so thank you for watching. This has been an episode of Science Unplugged. I encourage you to look at the other videos we've made and come back for the next set. So keep doing science.